Welcome everyone to my YouTube channel. I'm International Master William Paschall. We're going to be doing another Blitz session where we just play a game or two here, maybe three on Chess live online. We're going to maybe jump into a tournament or just find some random games to play, and maybe classical games. I don't know what time control exactly, and just kind of go over the games after we play them. As we play and then after we can take a look. So I'll share with you basically my experience playing and learning chess here on the internet. Currently playing on Videochesstraining. My handle is SparkleHorse on Chess. You can also check out my live streams on Twitch. So let's start to see if we can find some kind of tournament to jump into. Don't have to play. We don't have to play a whole tournament, just a few games. 5-0 would be cool. Hourly classical rated 10-0. Let's try one of these. It's not starting for 20 minutes, so we'll go back, find something that's going on now. Sicilian Defense Classical Arena 10-0 thematic. Oh, let's try that. That sounds cool. Only time for like one game. Basically, this tournament's almost over. We're gonna just play one game, and it looks like a very topical kind of King's Indian with the fixed structure in the center. Maybe it may be pretty deep into the classical variation. So like the knight e1 variation of classical. No, king's on e1 in a game I'm watching here. Wonder what variation it could be. We'll find out. It's a thematic tournament, so you just start from a certain position. I just thought it might be fun because I do play the King's Indian with both colors, so we'll wait for a second here as we get paired, and 10 minutes should give us enough time to really talk about the game and then go back and take a look at it afterwards, see what's going on, what's really going on. I recommend you do that. Okay, this is actually just the initial starting position of the so-called classical King's Indian with the move bishop e2. The game we were watching there, it looked like it had gone pretty far into kind of a mainline type of position, although white's king was still in the center. We have a lot of options here, but I guess I have to move before I get forfeited on time. I'll castle. I've played many variations against the King's Indian. It's just that here on this site, I think when you start a tournament game, you have to move within the first 25 or 30 seconds because the game will be forfeited if you don't do so. Okay, so I castled. I mean, I'm not sure how it counts there because it's actually a correspondence or rather thematic tournament. He played e takes d4, giving up his center. You know, this is a big concession. I've also played this variation off and on in my career with black, but it's no doubt fun to play with an open type of position, but black gives up a very important bastion in the center by playing e takes d4. And with black, I can't recommend this move. He's fatally weakening his d6 pawn, also giving up, well, potentially giving up any chance of controlling the d5 square with a pawn. Now, it looks like knight b5 pretty much, I was going to say it wins by force, but it doesn't quite win by force because black can probably hold with rook e6 there, followed by bishop f4, bishop f8. Now a little bit of calculation might go a long way. We've got knight takes d6 in this position. Is there anything better? I always tell people, if you see a good move, look for a better one. Good advice passed on to me by Grandmaster Larry Christensen, who was told that, no doubt, by some strong player in his stages of development. But that's coming from a tactician, a tactical player. Larry thinks very tactically. He's always looking for combinations, so his experience is such that he's calculating all the time, looking for opportunities. Very opportunistic style. Here, my knight is kind of forward. I don't see it's going to be easy to support. To support it isn't easy, so looking for tactics. His queen is unprotected. Is there anything I can do on that front? I don't believe so. My knight is just simply hanging. So I'd like to find a very powerful move to put black away here, but I just don't see it. He's threatening my knight. If I play bishop f4, he would hit me with like knight h5. Maybe everything would fall apart. So generally when you win material, I think the best thing to do is try to simplify. So we'll take out his bishop there on c8. But this is not a position that's going to be easy for me to win, because black has quite a few resources here. Particularly the dark square d4. He could settle a bishop or even a knight coming in through c6 and d4. So I would want to be teaching all of my students to think prophylactically, and here that means thinking about what the opponent can do, not just thinking about what you can do. You've got to think about what the other guy can do, preventing him from doing things. We want to be aggressive, but we want to be practical. We want to be good defenders and good attackers as well. Okay, what to do here? Just bishop e3. If we play practically, I think this move is good. We're going to stop, or hope to stop him from playing the natural move knight to c6, because knight to c6 will drop his c5 pawn. And that's what happened. He did not play knight c6. Probably saw that. So like a very small gain for us. We managed to prevent him from putting his knight on its best square. Now moving on, we want to complete our development. We want to keep everything guarded and protected. I'm thinking queen d2. This piece is unprotected. Unprotected pieces are liabilities. So queen d2 with the idea of connecting my rooks, communicating with the rooks so they can approach the open file. We've got rook d1 or rook fd1. The rook fd1 or rook ad1 is a tough call, and it's not the only plan here. I mean, I could always just drop a knight on d5, but what's the point, with that? I'm going to play rook fd1. You may wonder, what's my a rook doing? I'm not sure, but there are some probable locations like c1, b1, or even maybe a1, a4. I could play a4, a5, try to break up his queen side. Now I played queen to c6. I think black is trying to play b5. Always ask yourself, when you're playing a game, if you have the time, try to ask yourself, what is my opponent trying to do? I very, very badly want to play f4 here, but it's dropping the e4 pawn. f4, radical move, taking advantage of tactics on the long diagonal. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, queen takes e4, bishop f3, queen takes e3, queen takes e3, rook takes e3, bishop takes a8, winning the exchange. Still, black might have some compensation there, some counterplay. So I'm having a little trouble with this. e4, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, queen takes e4, we talked about. Rook takes e4, bishop f3. And even there, he's going to get some compensation. I think it's interesting, but I think I'm just up a pawn here. So I don't really want to risk anything. I feel like a lot of players, I've been talking about some students about this lately, a lot of players are not really confident like a pawn up or even a piece up is enough. You've got to reach a comfort level that you feel like you can win material. Be confident you're going to take the game down. But right about now, this guy who's only, wow, he's 1,500, 1,300 in Blitz, should be an easy victory for me. Unless he's getting help from some source. Anyway, okay, let's try f4. It looks risky, but I counted this to be a material win for white. I think that we should probably play something a little safer, like rook c1. Maybe that's the simplest. But I feel kind of passive here, like I have no forward plan. Playing f4, it's a little bit of a risk. He could dynamically sacrifice material. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, queen takes e4, queen takes e4, bishop f3, queen takes e3, bishop takes a8. Once again, I'll probably win the exchange, but black's going to have some compensation. If my opponent was higher rated, I might err more on the side of caution here. He has the hanging knight on d7, but I'm always dropping pieces along the e-file too. So, you know, if I try to take on d7, he's picking something up along the e-file. Seems like it balances out. Black, I think, has some compensation for the sacrificed exchange. He was down a pawn to begin with. Now it's an exchange after bishop f3. Again, check if there's any better moves, but I don't see it. So I don't think we have anything better. His knight is going to be a bit awkward on... No doubt it's going to be a little awkward on d7. He has this open bishop on f8. And after queen takes e3, queen takes e3, rook takes e3, bishop takes a8. He doesn't have a great square for his knight, ironically. If he goes to f6, his knight is actually blocking the bishop on g7. I also have rook d8 check. Rook d8 check could really kill him because it will force him to play like bishop f8, and that bishop on g7 is a great source of counterplay. So I think that black has lost. Maybe the other way was a little more complicated. If he takes here with a rook, perhaps. And, you know, maybe we should even consider black in this position not taking the knight. You could just play maybe rook e8, but then again I have bishop f3. I don't know. Seems like he might have had something better. We'll see an analysis after the game, but we're getting a little bit low on time. By the way, time usage, it's a very common topic, and I think it's important. We see a lot of players here online, particularly. I see them also in tournament situations. They play too fast. Okay, this is a sudden death game. I guess I can see. It's only move 14. He's used 4 minutes. But let me put it this way. If you are in a critical position, you need to take your time. I mean, if you're in danger of losing a large amount of material, you need to take your time. Bishop d4, he's just losing everything. I mean, I can take a rook, go a rook up. It looks like a rook up here. Just a bishop up. After rook takes d4, queen takes e3, rook takes d7. Or queen takes d4, pawn takes d4, rook takes d7, or d4. We're winning a lot of material there. He's actually getting away there with rook a7. Be careful. Queen takes is giving away too much. Alright. Anyway, it looks like rook takes d4. Rook takes queen. Rook takes d7. We're just up a bishop in that position. That's the cleanest. If I'm not having any hallucinations. This is the cleanest. So take your time, you know. Here he's just not even focusing anymore. He's lost a queen for a rook and a pawn, and queen takes actually, yeah, queen for rook and pawn. He's just dead, so he can resign here. Hopefully he'll resign quickly so we can continue this game series, Blitz series. This is my second live Blitz game video on my YouTube channel recently. I want to do these from time to time, kind of keeping them short, not too long. Basically between like 20 and 40 minutes for a session, 20 and 45 minutes for a video. Some of my longer streams, you know, go 2.5 hours if you'd like to check those out. I do put the replays of those here, but hopefully we will we'll get this guy to resign. I can also just pause the video. We'll continue when he gives up. Okay, he's not taking too long. I was afraid that my opponent would actually, you know, just like let his clock run out. Sometimes people are bad sports and they do something like that, but he did not do that here. So how can we take some more material? Check and take another pawn. I should probably play for mate, but another fast way to win is creating another queen. I don't think this opponent is gonna really hang in there much longer. So I'm gonna cut the video here onto the next game. Okay, he resigned, so no need to cut the video. We're gonna just go on to another tournament. We're gonna leave this tournament and take a look at the game just briefly. there's not too much to talk about here. You know, what happened? What did he do wrong? It's pretty basic. It's a King's Indian tournament, a thematic tournament. And black decided to play this variation with e takes d4. So let me go to the analysis board. We can look at statistics here. Very useful feature on leadchess.org. It shows you all the master games, or most of the master games that have been recorded in, you know, recent, let's say, like the last 50 or 60 years for the most part. So in this position, the most common move is knight c6, knight a6, and then knight bd7 and e takes d4. I've played all four. I am a King's Indian player with black. It's not the only thing I play, but black gives up the strong point here. Another variation for black is c6 in this position. I've also played knight c6 after rook e8, f3. We've got knight c6. This is the main line. I lost against Sham. This knight c6 variation I once lost to Sam Shankland. I wasn't very well prepared for that game. I also lost to Kovac Gabor. I haven't had a good score with that line. Another line is c6 though. Knight h5, this is interesting. Probably the critical try against that is g4, weakening the white king side. Kind of fun variation. Not really topical at the moment. Maybe something to look at because it's not really fashionable now. My opponent played c5. This is a terrible move, weakening the pawn on d6, almost losing by force. Now after knight b5, the question is, what should he do? I can see that I'm going to put further pressure on the d6 pawn potentially with bishop f4. The question is, can he protect? I mean, I would consider bishop f8 here as a major candidate move, but we can see that the computer engine doesn't like that because of the potential of bishop g5. This I didn't see, and I was looking at bishop f4, focusing on that pawn, you know. But after rook e6, I was unsure what's really going on in this position. Can white actually put more pressure on black? And it's not so decisive. But we could have played bishop g5, which threatens bishop takes f6 and knight c7, trapping the rook on a8. This is apparently also a fork, a knight fork on c7. This is apparently like winning by force material, probably at least in exchange. And the other possibility of rook e6 is more accurate, so he should play this first when I'm not really sure what the best move is for white here. It looks like after this rook e6, black can fight on. He's not lost. It's awkward. He blocks his bishop on c8, but this would have been a good fight. In the game, you know, we go to the game, knight b5. He just simply jettisoned the pawn. If anything else, it would, you know, it would be better to play knight to c6. At least develop the knight to its best square in this line. a6 is a non-constructive move. After knight takes d6, he played rook e6, which is good. I was looking for something better than knight takes c8. It just wasn't there. So after long thought, I played the best move. He takes. Bishop e3 was a good move. It looks like I played this correctly. And then queen d2 was a good move. But the question is what to do now. I'm not really sure. Rook fd1 or rook ad1. In this position, we took him out. f4 was risky, though. You know, the computer, look at the evaluation, +2 for white. And then I played f4. I knew it was risky. I wanted something better. I said rook ac1. Maybe even a quiet move like a3 with the idea of b4. But I want to get the rook off that long diagonal. So you can play rook c1, rook b1, just kind of keep the position. And I mean, black's only hope really is this d4 square, but I don't see it happening. Let's go back to find another game or tournament. So what do we got for tournaments here? Hourly blitz in 2 minutes. We could play some kind of blitz. If we hang out for a minute here, let's try to see if there's any interesting challenges in the challenge list here. Not too many high-rated players to play. I'd like to play someone over maybe 1800, so it's a challenging game. 8+0. Let's see what we got. The tournament's going to start here in just a couple minutes. Alright, we'll just pause the video and come back when the tournament starts.
Okay guys, we're back, and I'm just jumping into the Blitz tournament that's starting here, the Hourly Blitz Arena on Lichess. I'm going to play a game or two here to round out this video. We just played a classical game, gave us a little bit of time to really talk about the game, but I thought for fun we'll round out the video with a couple of 5-minute games. So let's see what we get here. Alexander rated 2000. I always like to know a little bit about my opponents. Alexander's from Russia. Usually, we can make some sort of generalizations about players. Alexander and Rush. He's a Russian player, though internet generation is different. Players from the internet generation, they're not like classically trained in many cases. We can't make the kind of generalizations we can, as we used to be able to make. This is basically a Petrosian variation. He just hasn't played. He hasn't played. Bishop g5. He's also very fast. Not too many games. Only 66. A lot of blitz games, though. Okay, we'll transpose to a normal type of Petrosian variation now, or at least I know where I'm at. Knight d2, bishop h6. Highly recommend you check out the games of Tigran Petrosian. He was not only a great player with the white pieces in this variation, which is named after him, but he was also a fantastic King's Indian player. So, if you want to know how to play either side of the King's Indian defense, it's highly recommended that you study the games of Tigran the Great. I'm not even sure if a5 is my best move in this position. I had a game I remember once that went like knight to b3, and I had some trouble with my knight on c5 getting captured and d takes c having to be played. So I'm playing knight e8 with the idea of f5. Try to keep the annotation simple, and we'll go over the game in a little more detail after the fact. We'll play a game, maybe analyze it, then come back. This is a problem in this variation. My knight on c5 can actually be quite a problem, because if he gets in rook b1, b4, before I have time to play f5, I'm going to be up the creek without a paddle. Very big problem if you play this type of position and your knight gets kicked and you have to go somewhere like b6, knight b7. That happened to me once against National Master Adrian Casillas. It wasn't pretty. Not pretty. You don't want a fianchettoed knight on b7. So just a little bit of advice there. Okay, now we are capturing on c1 in this position, trading what was our bad bishop, still a valuable piece, but essentially a bad bishop. Do we have any tactics here? I can play pawn takes pawn, then pin his knight with bishop f5, but I'm not overly convinced this is all that devastating. So what to do? Doesn't look like we have anything really concrete. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, bishop f5, knight d2. And then what? Bishop takes. I could play an endgame with a knight against bishop with a slightly better minor piece, probably. This is really not that convincing. I have queen h4, and I think he also has options himself. Maybe he doesn't take the pawn. He could play like knight d2 here. Interesting attempt. But anyway. I was looking at queen h4. Maybe get some development and create some more tactical possibilities. This move may be a little artificial. I just don't know. He weakened his white squares a bit. Maybe knight f6 at some point. Bishop takes e4. This guy is really solid. I'm going to play queen h6. Sudden change of my mind, kind of probing the dark square weaknesses in his position a little bit, but I don't have anything concrete here. It looks like he can play queen c3 with a perfectly reasonable position. I guess I would. There it is, man. I mean, that's pretty active, pretty accurate. This guy's pretty good for 2000. He's really hanging on, threatening to. I better take here. Now I'm worried about my knight again. Knight f6 is going to have to be played if he takes with the pawn. My knight on c5 is what I'm talking about. Worried about my knight, like not staying on c5, getting driven away. I'll get the a file. How strong is this guy in bullet? 1800. Competent? Not really a specialist. He's got 4,000 gains in blitz. I'm looking for tactics, but I don't see them here. So I'm not going to really be sure what to do. I'm going to hang out. If he plays b4, you know, he weakens his a file, but he drives me back, so it's still possible to play knight a4. But I'm afraid it's like a one-way trip. Knight a4. Very awkward square. I talked about knight b7. I don't want to see that happening. Don't want knight b7. Now rook a1, probably his best shot. And I would say white is holding. You know, he's holding here. He's got a kind of bad bishop that's rather pawn-like. But he has some space, and he can contest the file. I'm solid, but nothing special. So maybe we can take him out on time. Playing king g7. Seems strange to put it on the same diagonal, but this is basically a closed diagonal. Now knight b3. And I need to get something going around here. I just have no entry points. Like he literally never gives me an entry point into his position. And it's starting to get on my nerves. Okay, queen g5. With the idea of maybe knight h5. It's not really what I want, though. Man, this guy is awfully good. I think that white is better now. I'm really concerned about this position. It's like I'm just worse now. Wow. And I regret my last move, actually. I regret playing that knight move. This is too passive. I can't afford to do this. Okay, where is my king going? It's not safe. This is not a safe position for my king. On g7, it was a big mistake. Alexander taking me out. Rated 2019. Just making no mistakes. He's very methodical. Take, queen c7. I've got queen e3 check. He does have knight a5, knight c6, which isn't devastating. So take, rook takes a8, rook takes a8, queen c6. Now this move closes the structure. Hopefully that's a mistake. In an endgame scenario, that could be a devastating pawn. And I'm not really looking for that. So I'd like to keep it complicated. He's like trading queens, this is basically a disaster if he trades queens. He forced a repetition of queen trades. But this way I kind of escape with my queen. This guy's awfully strong for 2019. Extremely strong. I would say master strength. Positionally. Hopefully he'll collapse on time. White still probably stands better. Queen g5 though, I'm not sure what this really does. Maybe I can just trade queens. Trade everything. I have knight takes d5 tactic. It's kind of double-edged though. Knight takes d5. If knight takes a1, okay, I don't have a tactic. Yes, I do. Knight takes e4. I have some knight takes e4 here. Rook takes a1, knight takes e4. What am I talking about? It doesn't work. Knight takes d5. Pawn takes d5. Rook takes b3. My queen is so misplaced here. Knight takes d5 takes, rook takes f3. I hope this works. He has counter tactic like bishop takes h5 in this position. We're basically very low on time. He doesn't have rook a8. He has this check, but I have rook f7. So it looks like we're going to win, but it was really close. You know, now I'm not in check.
Starting to hallucinate. Pretty fast for a guy who doesn't play bullet chess. Rook is protected. Whew, this was close. Very close game, man. Let's go to analysis board. I mean, man, this guy really put me to the test. All right, request computer analysis. We were worse. This was tough. D4, knight f6. I tried to get him to play, you know, some kind of inferior variation like E takes D, giving up his strong point in the center. I really like to play that for black. Nesmedinov was the most famous player who played a lot of D6, but before that, this opening was popular in the Soviet times, like in the 40s, 50s for black. King's Indian started to grow into a very, very popular opening. Soviet grandmasters like Boleslavsky, and later, well, I talked about Nesmedinov, who was an international master, but the Russians really did a lot of work and pioneering in this King's Indian. So I think the best move for white is knight f3 here. My opponent played d5. A lot of people like to close the structure. There's nothing wrong with this, and honestly, you can see here black has a million moves. If you look in these games with like a5, you'll probably find a couple of my games. I mean, you might. I don't know. Let's see, a5. I played this a few times, but not there. Okay, there are correspondence games mixed in here with the regular games. Okay, so we turned it into a King's Indian basically, and now what happened here? We transposed to a line of the Petrosian variation. It looks like the main move is a5. Instead, I was tempted to play knight h5, which is interesting. I played knight a6. And the main move is bishop g5. The second main move is knight d2. He played castles. I've played this position a lot. Nothing special. It's actually really easy, simple variation for white. You'll see the score here is actually better for black, but I think that's simply because strong players don't really play this variation. Apparently queen c2 is best. I have had some struggles against that, proving that black's position is equal. Theory says this is kind of an innocuous variation for white, but in my experience it's not so easy to play with black. Okay, so knight d2, and now the engine says that a5 is a good move, and I don't doubt that, but I just, you know, love this Petrosian move, bishop h6. Now, queen c2, this is apparently theory. a5. There's a game, Franz Hosel. I forgot I played this game. I beat Franz Hosel on Austrian IM in 1998. That game, that's amazing. So one of my own games from 1998 is in the database. Totally forgot about that game. That was a funny tournament where I literally played 9 draws. I think I had something like 9 draws, 1 win, and 1 loss in an 11-round GM tournament. This is like my first GM norm tournament ever in '98 in Budapest, Hungary. But anyway, it was crazy. 9 draws. I lost to Alexander Neumann, who became a German grandmaster later, and won this one game against Hosel. So anyway, a5, we've seen now b3. This is apparently been played just once. Here's a game Ding Liren with black in 2016. So b3 is a reasonable move. I played the most common response, and then he plays a3, which is thematic. There's Oscar Almeida. I think that's Oscar. Played a game here. And so we follow like this game, which seems very logical. Now I played knight f3, which surprised me. I mean, it seems like a strange move. Played by a 2290 player in 1995. I don't understand knight f3. I mean, white should be playing f3. But you have to watch out, because f3, black can get some very nasty threats. I won some miniatures in these type of positions after like f3, bishop e3 check, king h, and now there are just very serious threats against the white king on h1. It's talking about queen h4 here. The engine is talking about that, but what I'd really like to do is get a knight on f6, go knight h5, and play knight g3, and then like queen g5 and mate white. This can happen. just an example of something that might happen, like knight f6, and if white were to not pay attention, you could have knight h5 with very serious threats, and one, you know, thoughtless move like b4 and white actually gets mated in this position. Queen h4 is apparently the best, but you've got like knight g3 check, h takes g, followed by queen g5, and it's actually a forced mate. I won a lot of games years ago in Blitz in these type of positions, but no way for white to escape this position. It's just amazing, you know, just like give away the pieces. So white has to be very careful in this type of position, but I don't really like his move knight f3. I mean, I don't know what he should play. Almeida actually played rook a2. Rook a2. But white's position is totally non-threatening. I mean, I think that it's just a kind of a little better for black or equal. So our guy played knight f3. This was a weird move, but it has a forcing benefit. You know, it's a kind of very forcing move. Bishop takes, rook takes. We're actually following an old game from '95. It's amazing. So maybe I should keep the tension here. I mean, I had regret during the game. Like, what I did was a little too simple. So it looks like, indeed, I should play knight f6. And I don't know. I wasn't sure what would happen if pawn takes pawn, honestly. I wasn't really sure about this. Bishop takes. I mean, pawn takes is possible, but bishop takes is more forcing. But, you know, at the end of the day, I wasn't really sure necessarily better here. It just looks like it's probably fairly balanced. Queen d1. And although the engine says that black is better, like one mistake and my advantage is evaporating. So I have to be very careful. Knight h5, that looks like a move that you might miss. And again, my knight on c5 can be driven away with b4. So it's a game. I decided to take here. And we're still following a game. I mentioned this move during the game, during analysis. He can play knight d2. I mean, it's an interesting possibility for white. It might, in fact, be the best move. Played knight takes e4. We're still following the '95 game. Bishop f5. Don't know who these Spanish guys are. Probably Spanish. They could be South American. Don't know. It could even be a correspondence game, but I doubt it. The level of play is not that intimidating. So they played knight fd2, and we're still following the game. Even queen h4, unbelievable. My guy played queen h4. The engine says a4, but that move requires great calculation. a4, b4, and knight b3. I didn't have time to work this out. This apparently is the most powerful because I can maybe put a knight on d4. If he takes, I just win. You know, this is probably just a winning position. So a4 was a really timely move, and apparently missed by Mr. Vidarte Morales. So we've got queen h4, f3, and I've still got a4. It's not as good now. I played queen h6. This guy's hanging in there. Bishop takes e4, and then knight f6, bishop f3, and I just think it's equal. I actually played b6, and he's making progress. Gives me the a file, but my knight is bad, and he's gaining space. Thought this was an excellent game by white for his level, for 2000. Challenges the a file, and I just don't have anything here. I just don't have anything. I literally found the best move. I felt very pressured here, and you know, I knew I don't have an advantage. So queen g5, he breaks. I play takes, and I'm scared he's going to penetrate with his queen here. I don't know what to do with black. I played h5. It actually wasn't such a bad move, giving my king like kind of like air if he breaks through on the 7th or something. c6. I thought this is interesting, but probably a mistake. I mean, penetrating with the queen here looks best. And then now it's like locked. So black is sort of okay. He wants to trade queens. I could trade queens, but I feel like this endgame is dangerous for black. You know, should somehow he get my c7 pawn, I'm probably a dead man. So I decided to not trade queens, and it's still about equal, right till the end, when our guy here he blundered apparently a move later. He had bishop g2 here, which I didn't see. And my tactic was just a complete luck you know, it was just a luck job. I mean, I didn't see bishop g2 at all. I should probably play knight h7. It's safer. And the position is equal. So I play knight takes d5. He has bishop g2 when I have to play knight f4, which is just a miracle. It would just be an absolute miracle. Like queen e7, rook f7. And so I was really, really lucky. Not only was I lucky not to lose, that this wasn't a losing move, but I was lucky that, you know, he just like overlooked rook takes f3, and here I'm winning. All right, guys, let's play one more game. We're going to go back and join this Blitz tournament, play one more. Last game. Please share my videos from YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to get more viewers and more likes and more subscribers here on Video Chess Training. You can also check out my Twitch stream, Slaggy on Twitch. You'll see a lot of the uploads from the live streams I do on my YouTube channel. So this is live Blitz with quick commentary, trying to keep the video, you know, less than an hour. Waiting for a game here. Just pause the video for a second. Okay, guys, we're back, and I'm playing an unknown opponent here from Argentina. Let's play the first move quickly. It's 5-minute Blitz. I'm playing maybe the Sicilian. Maybe this guy's gonna play a King's Indian attack. I've been doing a lot of work on King's Indian attack lately. Transposing to the English opening now with c4, c5. Okay, I've been looking at b6 with the double fianchetto. The problem and the drawback, I think, with this system is that it's pretty symmetrical. I have sometimes some regret about playing. Knight d4 is interesting here. I have some regret about playing the symmetrical variation against the English because it's not that imbalanced as other positions like c4, e5. You know, so objectively, if you want to win, it's probably better to play an imbalanced type of pawn structure. I know some aggressive players who play the black side of the symmetrical English. I mean, obviously, you know, down the line, there's going to come a time when, you know, you can break the symmetry. But unfortunately, our opponent just blundered here with a3, allowing knight b3. And this game should be, should be pretty much like a matter of technique. So he wants to trade with bishop h6. I'm no longer concerned about that because I'm up the exchange, and I'm just going to be more than happy to trade pieces with him. So what are we going to do? Get our pieces in the game. He should try something frisky like queen f4, queen h4. But I think maybe better to not trade on g7 in his case. I could even play bishop takes f3. Just giving up, you know, my powerful bishop to simplify the game. When you're up material, trade pieces. Don't trade pawns, trade pieces. Alright, maybe we can play d5 at some point. I want to open the game, kind of end it. It's a Blitz game. I'm actually kind of sorry I let him play that. I was talking about playing bishop takes f3, but anyway, that's it, man. That's how it goes. e5 is interesting, albeit like slightly risky. Would give me a little bit of space. e4 is an excellent move by white. You know, he's done what I said. He's avoiding simplification in a kind of difficult position where he's down material. I decided to play a6. I want to move my queen. I was thinking about moving my queen, playing this more like a hedgehog, like e6 and d5. But maybe we're going to have to concern ourselves with stuff like bishop h3, getting on this diagonal as well. I think my instinct was to start evacuating things from that diagonal. It says it's my move. He just moved. Okay. So e6. A little bit weakening my king side now. The dark square is around here. You guys get some insight into how prophylactically I think. Queen b2, an excellent move by white. Now he's probing the dark squares I was just talking about. He also has potential this way. So I want to get either my king off that diagonal or just go ahead and play e5. I mean, this is actually a move I was thinking about playing long ago. I was thinking about playing this ages ago when I played rook b8. I also don't like this situation here, and it also sidesteps bishop h3. I could even play bishop c8 and reactivate my bishop on that diagonal. Okay, this is a big mistake, like big mistake. You don't want to trade pieces when you're down material. I don't know, I could take either way. I'm going to take with the knight and play my bishop back to c8. We're just up the exchange, and white has like limited compensation, I would call it. But you know, it's a 5-minute game. I've got to be a little bit careful. He's pretty cagey. I would describe him as cagey. f5 and be very wary here. He's got knight takes e5, queen f6, d4, dropping a piece. f5, knight takes e5, queen f6, f4, rook e8. Man, it's not a good idea to allow knight takes e5. Not a good idea to allow it. f5, knight takes e5, d takes e5, rook takes e5, queen f6, rook e7 check. I mean, that's what's going on behind the scenes that you may or may not see here. So I've got a number of resources. Maybe queen f6 is the safest. I'm a little bit concerned about knight d2, knight e4, but it looks like I can stick my bishop on f5 and just like chop off any pieces that can go there. I would even consider like giving this guy a pawn to break his counterplay. So he dropped the exchange, but he's like wickedly like dynamic. I mean, he just overlooked knight b3 on move 7, and now he's like got piece sacrifices on e5 lined up. So you've got a player who seems pretty tactical, and maybe he's playing the wrong kind of opening for his style. You know, he should probably be playing open games. I mean, he seems like once the pieces start to flow, he knows what he's doing, but he's playing this like kind of rope-a-dope, slow, strategic opening that that he's not really, you know, that skilled in. This guy should probably be playing e4, you know, and playing some kind of sharp positions, because it looks like with piece play he's quite good. He did overlook the tactic knight to b3. Who knows? Maybe he's just like trying out a new opening. You know, he doesn't normally play the English, although generally speaking, most people who now he's taken away that square from his knight. I don't like that move. He's got knight g5. The other way to go. So you see, I'm just constantly thinking prophylactically, but one of the reasons why I'm doing that is because I'm up material. I was, again, having a conversation with one of my students recently, and I mean, just a piece up or several pawns up, you should win the game, you know, and all you need to do is consolidate. You don't have to do anything. Like, consolidate your material, and it's the easiest thing in the world. You don't have to attack, you don't have to sacrifice pieces, you don't have to, you know, it's just a matter of technique. Okay, now, this knight h4 is a little annoying. Maybe I should even consider g5. He's basically threatening nothing. Alright, so we're going to think about b5, but he's got this queen coming in there. That is kind of irritating. So it's a time game. We're going to have to be a little bit faster here. Like, he's going to probably play queen b2 if he's smart and make me like repeat moves. But we need to play a little faster. He traded one piece with knight d5, but after that he's avoided further exchanges. Yep. Alright, we'll repeat position once, and then I'm going to maybe play g5. It weakens my king side. We have other moves, though. Let's do rook e8, actually. No reason to go crazy with g5. His knight's on a bad square. Be patient. It could take, you know, dozens of moves to consolidate a winning position. So I think it's important to stay patient. Here, though, I feel confident. We're well mobilized. Let's play bishop f5. Improve that piece. I don't have to go crazy. This is a bad move for white. Weakening his king side and allowing queen f4 possibilities. And now it's over. This is a technical win. Big mistake trading queens when you're down material. That just another good move though by this player. Really heads up. Damn, dude. I bet he's fast, too. Can his knight do any damage? We've got to check that out. Doesn't really have a great outpost square. I mean, he would need to get it to like f5 to do some damage. So I think we're thinking about this piece. I'm just going to take with a rook here. This pawn looks dead. And we're winning handily. Just rook takes e4. Okay. But, you know, this guy put up a little bit of resistance. I'm not really that satisfied with the way I played this game. I think I could have played a lot better. So we're going to wrap up the video with a little quick analysis of this game. But, you know, get some insights into the way a master plays Blitz. And classical chess. We had one classical game here today, but our king. Let's centralize the king in the end game. And by the way, guys, if you're playing a Blitz game, keep it simple, you know. Just keep it simple. So go for the king and pawn endgame. Don't be greedy. And there's no way you're going to make a mistake. Fall for a knight fork or something like that. King and pawn endgames, 2 connected passed pawns, what have you. This is just a walk in the park. The easiest thing in the world is winning this kind of position. Just stalemate has to be avoided. So he's even got a pawn, so he can't even stalemate me. I'm going to actually checkmate him. No time to checkmate him. Okay, pause the tournament. We're going to go take a look at this. I'm going to go back to my profile, grab the game, and okay, it's a mismatch. I mean, I'm a lot higher rated than this player, but still, we get some instructive kind of value. Opening wise, it's a normal King's Indian attack or English, depending on how he wants to play it. He plays c4. I like this move. It's basically like a Sicilian in reverse. Black has a lot of choices here. d6 I've played a lot. What did I decide to play? Yeah, b6 is a kind of new idea I've been working on. I'm trying to find something a little bit off the beaten track. The double fianchetto. This guy here, you'll see Pansulaya. I believe he's from Armenia. Yes. He is one of the few players. But you've got a couple guys here. Slavko Chichak is super interesting player. He's a really creative grandmaster. I like played Blitz with him online sometimes, and he just killed me. He's very, very dangerous. So we got a couple creative players here playing this setup. D3 is a quiet move. D6, and now bishop D2, and I played queen D7. So not too many gains in this position. Queen D7 to me, I don't necessarily want to block my bishop, you know. So I play queen D7, kind of waiting, and I think that rook B1, you know, something like rook B1. You'll see these are the two main moves here. Rook B1 and A3. I mean, the only plan for white is really essentially playing for B4. There's a game here, Daniel King versus Bent Larson. I'm in good company. King actually beat him in 1990 when Bent could still play. Man, King was pretty good, but Bent is a, you know, he was like close to being one of the top 5. He was definitely like top 5 in the world. So queen C1. This is like, what? Why are you playing for bishop H6? I haven't even moved my knight yet, you know. So even if I do, okay, queen C1's not so bad. He just made an oversight. I decided to play knight D4, go for simplification. If knight takes D4, bishop takes G2, king takes G2, and I've achieved something important here. I've weakened his king's side by trading off that bishop on G2. I think black stands better already after C takes. You may think this is a strange move, and in a sense it is. I mean, to block your own bishop with a pawn, but it just disrupts white's position tremendously. And white has a good game, and black has a good game here. My other black has a really good game here. It's just easy to play. His king is weaker than mine. I've got an extra pawn in the center. So he was wise not to take on D4. But the thing is, I think he should probably play something like A3 or rook B1. Because if he did that, and I play knight D4 now, he can go ahead and play like E3. And after E3, knight takes F3, bishop takes F3.
This position is probably about equal. I don't think that black has the better game. But it's not forced. You know, he could play something else. E4 was played in a game here. That actually looks pretty solid. So it's probably an equal position. Queen c1 took his queen away from being able to recapture, you know, bishop takes f3. So he's very limited after this game continuation. Queen c1, knight d4 is particularly annoying for white. Now the best move was either e4 or rook e1, but he blundered with a3. This rook could go to b1. If he really wants to play, you know, that kind of plan, his rook would have to be on b1 and a3 and b4. But he blunders here. We just win the exchange. And it should be pretty much like game over, but I managed to give him a fair amount of counterplay here, which is interesting. Let's see. Queen c1 back, castles, and then bishop h6. You know, maybe I should just play bishop takes f3 and trade pieces in this position. I'm just up a clear exchange, you know. Just seems like that might be a reasonable thing to do in that situation, just to simplify. But instead I played rook c8. He trades bishops. I think this helps me. It does weaken my king side, but he has a limited amount of material left. And now queen d2 was okay. Again here, now the engine is talking about bishop takes f3. This is the moment where I should probably do it for sure. Now we're really simplifying. I mean, 2 sets of minor pieces are off the board. I'm just up the exchange, so I think this would have been basically the best and pretty much lights out. Alright guys, the rest of the game we'll take a quick look at here. So rook a c8, we've got bishop takes, king takes, queen d2, rook d8, e4. Now this is an interesting move, knight g4, but I didn't want to get pinned by bishop h3. So I can request computer analysis, see what it says. I guess I was always winning, but it got a little bit scary at one point when he started to play queen b2. I was a little concerned, you know, that I had messed this up a bit. But apparently I'm probably okay. I got an e5, closed it up, played back. You know, knight d5 is not a good move for white here. He plays knight d5. I don't know which way I should have captured, though. It's a really tough call. The computer really can't even decide, you know, between knight takes d5 and bishop takes d5. They both have their benefits. But maybe objectively for the safety of my king, it would have been better to take with the bishop. In a pure sense, I think the bishop is a stronger piece. But he takes back in a smart way. You know, he plays rook e1, he has this e4 square, and so he gets some counterplay here. I have to be careful. Check this out. If f5, I think white's winning. After knight takes e5. I mean, he also has d4. I was terrified of this. Queen f6 and f4. I mean, this was my analysis. I just don't know what's going on here. I guess there's some way that maybe I'm winning, but it was just kind of scary to me. I mean, to allow this. So, I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, it looks scary as heck. You know, I'm up a rook in this type of position, but this is just the kind of position you don't want to play, you know, if you don't have to. To allow mind-boggling complications when you've got like a minute left in the clock, on the clock, it's just not a good practical decision. So, although that's like objectively not sound, it would have been a good practical try. Not to mention like d4 for white. So, wanted to avoid that, and we kept him without like serious counterplay, I think, throughout the game here. Bishop d7, we're just better. I wasted a little time there. Eventually I found the plan, you know, g5 and taking away the e4 square from his pieces. And he blunders, allowing the weakness on f4. That's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for joining me for this Blitz and classical kind of live analysis session. Just a few games here on thechess.org for the YouTube channel. International Master William Paschall. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you could take something away from it. Hopefully it's useful for players of all levels. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for checking out my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.